Stop messing around, stop fooling around, stop delaying, stop procrastinating. Get up, get out, get it done. Everything is possible, nothing is a problem, and anything can be overcome. I just get my ass up out of bed, I get my shit together, and I get out and I start the fight. And that will transform you from a mere mortal into a superhuman being. I've never, ever, ever met anybody who told me that they got rich watching their IRA or their 401k.
Welcome to the Daily Cash Flow with Peter Siegel. I'm George Robson, and today we have on the show the curator of The Good Life herself, Barbara Majeski. Barbara is a powerhouse entrepreneur, real estate investor, cancer survivor, mother of three, and of course, lifestyle expert that you've probably seen on the Today Show, Good Day New York Live, and the Nick Cannon Show. She's the founder of the 14-Day Reset and the Summer Series, both designed to give people the tools to become their best selves. She's the host of her own podcast, Bearing It All with Barbara Majeski, all about getting into the grit behind the glamour. And there are likely countless other significant parts of her life that I've left out, but that's why she is on the podcast today, to fill you in on purpose, style, and one of the reasons. So welcome, Barbara.
Welcome, Barbara.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. That was the best bio I have ever read.
That was pretty good.
That was really good. So thanks, George.
That bio took 2 seconds to write because it was there's so much about you.
It's true.
Woo.
Yeah.
I didn't learn about Barbara from her TV personality and TV presence. I learned about her on social media.
That was going to be my first question, is like, how did you guys meet?
I learned about Barbara on social media. I heard her speaking about all sorts of topics like strength, perseverance, tenacity, being down but not out, cancer survivor. She's built businesses and sales experience and all this stuff, right? Yeah. And I'm like, whoa. And then she says, yeah, and I'm from Princeton, New Jersey, and I'm on my way to the Jersey Shore. I said, I have to meet this person.
Yeah.
That's how we met.
That's amazing.
Because there isn't anybody in Princeton, New Jersey or at the Jersey Shore that I don't know, but I didn't know Barbara.
I mean, it's crazy our paths did not cross. And I think what people need to know is a drop-in audio app where we connected, not on Instagram or TikTok,
right?
Facebook. Nope, it was Clubhouse.
It was shocking. I'll never forget the day I heard you saying, yeah, I left Princeton. You were telling the story about when your son had a seizure and you were on the road headed to the Jersey. You said, I just left Princeton and I was on my way to the Jersey Shore. And I heard those two things. And I was like, wait, what? Princeton?
Yeah.
Like, it was amazing.
Yeah, we are miles away from each other. Our paths have always crossed that we just never met in person. So you never know how serendipity works, and I'm grateful for it.
I recognized early on with you that you are such a fighter and you have such tenacity, and so many things have happened to you. And every time, so I was listening to you speak, you were talking about a divorce that you went through, obviously a very tough thing for anybody to go through. And then you start talking about being a cancer survivor. And stage 3 cancer, stage 4. I mean, you'll tell me in a second. I don't know that I'm getting it right, but like it was cancer, and you had to get treatment, and you bounce back from that. And then you start talking about building your sales teams and all the pivoting and work that you've done over the years to build your business. It's an incredible story. So I thought that we would just talk a little bit about that kind of thing today, because I've never met anybody like you. I mean, I've met people that have had things happen to them in their lives and they make it the center focus of their life, and then they never move on from it. And I've met other people that have never had stuff happen to them. But you are this incredible story for me. And I always enjoyed listening to your stories and listening to you speak, because you didn't focus so much on the events that occurred that weren't great. Instead, you focused more on what you did about it. And for that, I'm grateful to have you in my life, and I'm grateful for the chance to always listen to you and really to have you here today, because that's the thing that I think that people, I love that. I think people would really love that as well.
Well, I appreciate hearing that. And I have been given a lot of gifts as much as I have been given a lot of challenges. And I think it is all about how you frame it. You know, I am a descendant of Holocaust survivors, so I have a very strong belief that I was born of hardy survivor stock. And I'm also a sibling of a brother with special needs. And it was, you know, I can't explain unless I jump right to cancer and my experience in chemo to really validate my clarity of what it was, the gift I was given growing up with a brother with special needs. And I'll fast forward and condense this whole story is that when I was in my eighth or ninth round of chemo, and I was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer at 42 years old. I had 3 young kids, and it was on the heels of my marriage imploding in a dumpster fire. Blaze of glory. So it wasn't a great year for me. But as I'm going through this thinking, well, you know what? I'm a survivor. I'll get through this. I bumped up against some serious tough times with chemo. And on my 9th infusion, 8th or 9th, I don't remember, I thought, I don't think I'm going to get through this. And I had never felt such despair. I was like, I can't believe this is where my story ends. I'm 42. 3 kids, and everything I've written, every chapter I've written are all the chapters that will ever be read in the story of my life. And I took inventory of all the things I was really proud of, all the things that I had really just built and persevered through and had made, and whether it was built, I put myself through college. I started a sales company in my 20s and ultimately scaled that and made enough money to take over as my brother's legal guardian. I'd been given a humanitarian award in 2015. And so when I reflect on all these things I was so proud of, I realized anytime I wanted to quit, I realized I had no quit. I wanted to quit putting myself through college. I mean, who wants to do that? Work, till 3 o'clock in the morning, waiting tables, waiting on drunk college kids, and then going to anatomy and physiology in the morning. I remember thinking, I don't want to do this. I'm out. But every time I wanted to quit something bigger, I thought if I quit, I can't take care of Steven. And it was in that moment I thought, oh, wow. Well, if these are the highlights of my life, thank God I was always taking care of Steven. And in that same moment, I realized, oh my God, it was not me taking care of Steven. It was actually Steven who was taking care of me. Because in that clarity, I realized that Steven given rise to the greatest gift I had ever been given, which is the gift of purpose, the gift of no quit, no backdoor, figure it out. I'm counting on you to make sure that you figure this out. This neurologically impaired sibling of mine was counting on me to make sure his needs were always going to be met for his entire lifetime. And because I was gifted such purpose, it gave me just figure it out. And I always did. So through adversity, I had no other option but to continue to move the feet forward. And it was then that I was like, if I just get one more shot at life, just give me, I remember telling the Grim Reaper, can you just pump your brakes and hook me up with another shot? I'll never play small again. And I think that's what ties all my stories together, and my resilience and persistence and perseverance is I was aligned with a purpose of taking care of my brother.
Talk to me about the sales business that you scaled and built when you were in your 20s, and how did that all start, and the things that happened along the way that I think you have a lot of sales ability. I mean, you've never tried to sell me anything, but you're an incredible speaker. You're very engaging. You're very warm. People gravitate towards you. And I think as a young person building a sales business, I'm sure all of that came into play.
This is the best interview ever. It's like build up, Babs. I'm feeling this. I laugh when you bring up my sales business because I was so fortunate to have this instinct early on. So it was a door-to-door sales company in the early, 1996, 97. And I just graduated college. I was $30,000 in debt. And I realized very quickly I couldn't just take a job because a job would just pay me. I kept asking every interview, I'm like, well, how much do I get paid? And can I make more money? How do you make more money? And it was like, well, if the company does well, you'll get a bonus. And I was like, I can't build my wealth. I can't build wealth on a company bonus that's predicated on overall, everyone else has to do their job. I can't just do my own job. And I realized I really needed to be in some sort of space where I would be compensated based on my hard work, because I was willing to outwork everybody because I needed to make money, not just for myself, but also I felt that I had a special needs brother who would be institutionalized if I didn't make money. So as crass as that is, I was very money driven and very money focused. And that's all I wanted to do. I literally listened to that song by ABBA, Money, 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 because it really spoke to my inner core child, whatever you want to say. And so I stumbled in this direct sales door-to-door company because it was a startup. And the thought was, if we proved to AT&T, or that was our client, that we were a viable resource for new customer acquisitions instead of telemarketing or junk mail. And we could bring in the small business owner who wasn't answering their phones for telemarketing and wasn't reading their junk mail. Then we would expand. And the only way we could expand was by the people that had gone door to door. And I was like, I'm your girl. I'm your girl. But when I tell you this company looked like fly by night, total like thug life. We worked in warehouses. None of us had money. We all dressed like schmoes. I had runs in my pantyhose all the time. Everyone told me to quit. My parents were like, you are definitely part of a scam. And what kept me with my nose to the grindstone, even though turnover was like hot tamales, like it was like crazy pants, what kept me was the people and the idea and what we were doing. The people that had started this were really good people. They were of high integrity and they had big goals, and they were going to take me along with them because they could not scale this company. Like all ships rise in high tide. And I saw it. I was like, they can't grow unless I figure out how to scale sales teams. So I took a risk, but I took a risk not on a get rich quick scheme. I took a risk on the people that I was surrounding myself with, the business concept, and I took a risk on myself. And honestly, I had nothing else to lose. I was broke as a joke and I'd always had no money. So I was like, okay, what's the worst that happens? I did want to quit at one point because it just sucked. We were going door to door, 12-hour days, straight commission, no salary, no gas for your car, no cushy wushy. It was like seller be fired. There was a fire sale every day. Like you started out at zero. But man, that was the best thing I ever did. So, and I think I could go off on everything that I learned about cold call sales, straight commission, everything I learned from every door, every no, every hard no, every yes, gave me everything I have today.
That's amazing. I think young people today, they think like a lot of things that are maybe different from our generation. One of the things that I think is lacking today is these sales companies in the sense that you just described. Mm-hmm. They don't really exist in the same way anymore because the world has changed and the economy has changed. I think if people could be exposed to that type of experience, I think it's an amazing gift because you can be successful at business if you can sell. You can be successful at anything if you know how to sell. Selling is communication, it's organization, it's presentation, all these things, and it all comes together. And if you can sell, you can be a great dentist, or you can be a great teacher, or you can be a great whatever, as long as you know how to sell. So I always think that selling is skill number one, and you got it at 20 whatever years old.
Well, I will say I did sell sunglasses at the market fair in Princeton, New Jersey early, but I want to like really dive into what you said because it really is to the detriment of the next generation that we don't make them do the same things that we had to do. We want to give them benefits and cushy wushy and like take all the grit and grind out of it. But you don't understand is that grit is actually what builds those muscles of persistence and resilience and makes you really dive deep. It gives you muscles that you will draw upon for the rest of your life. Life is not designed to be easy. There's going to be setbacks and hardships. If you don't have the muscles of, you know what, this is, tough times don't last. Tough people do. Keep moving the feet forward. You learn in sales that you control three things, right? Your attitude, your effort, and your intention. Your intention is to go out in the field and introduce people to a money-saving product or a product that can help their lives. Your work ethic is all incumbent upon you. It's a numbers game. No means next. You got to keep the feet moving forward and stop getting emotional about it. It's not about you. It's not what they want. And every no gets you closer to a yes. And it's all about your attitude, right? You control your attitude. Not if somebody rips your head off, you're not in control of their bad mood and they're projecting their bad day onto you, right? You control your response to it.
Yeah.
And when you have authority over that, man, you can be relentless in the pursuit of anything that drives you when you have those muscles. And we're screwing the next generation by being like, oh no, here's your benefits. So you don't have to worry if something goes wrong. I want you to worry and I want you to really have your back against the wall so that you live up to the fullest capacity. And we take those things off the table. It's like we took weights off the bar. We're taking way too much weight off the bar, and we're only screwing the next generation. That's my opinion. Do you agree? Am I like
no means next? You had me at no means next.
Yeah, just keep.
I love that.
Yeah.
That I used it in dating also.
Oh, interesting.
All right, that didn't work out.
Yeah, but you can use that. I want to double tap on something you said as you were describing the AT&T venture. Is that you said how thinking about money, you thought of that as crass, or like maybe that's a crass thing, and yet all through your career, you've really shown that money is, as an abstraction, we think of it as crass, but in the actuality of what it is, it's a tool to serve other people. And so you use that tool to serve your brother Stephen, and even I think you even mentioned in your podcast at one point you were still getting chemo bills like in 2020, and so that right there, like the fact that you have created this tremendous wealth allows you to take care of yourself and take care of your kids and all these things. So it's like we think of it as crass in the abstract, but in the real time, it's not at all.
We think of it as crass because society teaches us to not talk about money and that it's impolite. And if you're focused on money, then you're a crass that's what I think society breeds us to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you're in the right company and the right people, they want to talk money. They want to talk about investments. They want to talk about real estate. Listen, if you share your dreams and ambitions to the wrong person, tell it to a small-minded person is the quote, right? Tell your dreams to a small-minded person and they'll squash them. And I've made that mistake before in my ambitions. And people are like, God, why do you always talk about that? Whether it was private aviation or oceanfront property. If I've brought that up of like, that really motivates me and that's really what I'm gunning for, I've told it to the wrong people and they have shot me down and told me like, why can't you just be happy with what you have? I happen to be very happy with what I have, but I'm always curious about the next step. I'm always curious. Okay, how'd you do that? Why'd you do that? And if people could transcend judgment and move into curiosity, man, it is a game changer. But you said something I think is so important about money that I want to dive into. Number one, it affords you freedom. I went through my cancer treatments with all the luxuries and benefits that you would want. I didn't have to share a room after I had a foot of my large intestines donated to science. I had people to help me because I couldn't drive a car because I couldn't focus. I was completely, my brain was mush. But I want to share this other thing. So yes, it buys you freedom and it is important. And I love talking money. I love talking numbers. I love being crass. But the other thing that I think is important, when I really learned to make money, I learned that money is a byproduct of helping others. The more people that I helped in sales and helped them scale their own sales teams, money started to flow like it was unbelievable. So when I started focusing in how can I help this person scale their sales teams and how can I help this person learn how to make more money, and I stopped focusing on my own piggy bank, that's when the real wealth started flowing in.
Yeah, well, what's that quote from Zig Ziglar that you can get everything in the world that you want as long as you give the other person exactly what they want?
As long as you help enough people or something.
Exactly, yeah.
Zig, sorry, we're destroying it.
Here's the philosophy I've built my life on, my career on. You can have everything in life you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want.
But it is so true. When I shifted the mindset from me, I got to make money to let me see how I can teach. And before I left my sales organization, which I still have a percentage in, my ambition was to be known as the woman who taught more people how to make six figures at the time under the age of 25 than anybody else. Like I really shifted of like, I just want to teach people how to make money.
Yeah.
Changed my life.
So I know you've run marathons, but you weren't always a marathoner when you were young, right? This is like a decision you made later on. You're just like, oh, I'll just go run a marathon. I
like to set hard goals. I like it because my dad taught me something very critical growing up. He'd take us to Ferrari dealerships. We had no money. We had no homes. We had nothing. We lived with my uncle in La Jolla Beach, California. There's 5 dudes, 1 girl. I'm the girl. The dudes are my 3 brothers, my dad and my uncle, a studio apartment. He would take us to the Ferrari dealership and tell us to pick out a car. And I remember on one day getting particularly upset. And I was like, why are you doing this? We don't even have a car. We have no place to live. And we can't even afford, we go to Denny's and I have to pretend I actually am 11 and under so I can get the 99-cent meal, no drink involved because that costs money. I'm like, why do you do this? And he goes, somebody has to buy these Ferraris. That's why they make Ferraris. Somebody has to buy these beautiful homes. We just need to figure out what they did to get those things and do those things. And when my father said that to me, and he said it with such conviction, he wasn't saying these people were smarter than me, they were luckier than me, judging them. He was saying, get curious about what they did and then do it. So it always put me in this driver's seat. Just do the things to get the things and you'll have the things. And that changed the trajectory of my life of, okay, I'll just do what they did and I'll get what they have. I get curious and I want to experience things. I'm not a very judgmental person, but that had to change. I was a little judgy pants for a little bit, but now I'm like, how'd you do that? How do you have a private plane? How do you have a house on the water? I want that.
That's a great thing because it shifts the conversation away from manifesting and dreaming to actually taking action and doing something about it, which is the thing that I think I love most about you is that you take action and you do things about it.
There's a great quote. It's like maybe it's an urban legend about Facebook. Their quote on the wall was move fast and break things. I tend to be I'm like, let's throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. There is no fail in my book. It is only if you fail to learn. And I try things over and over again and eventually figure out what you want. It's even been that way for me going on TV. I thought TV was what I wanted and where I wanted to go. But as I move through it and I've experienced it, I'm like, I think there's other channels out there that really do move me. So
you're a real estate investor among the many things that you are, but I know that you've made some real estate investments and I've enjoyed hearing some of the stories about how you came to be in some of these deals. So can you share with us some of the fun story? Well, I think they're fun, but interesting stories about what makes you choose to pull the trigger on something. How did you know when it was the right time or the right piece of property or the right investment? What inspired you at the time to know that was the right move to make?
Okay, so we're going to talk about New York. So the answer is always no, unless you ask. And I think some people just make assumptions and look, what's the worst? A no is a no, even if it's a go fuck yourself no, and you can edit that, I'm sorry. Or it's just a no thank you, it doesn't matter. A no is a no and it's not a big deal. People get very emotional about it. So with New York, I have a beautiful condo in New York that is income generating. My ex-husband and I had put a huge deposit on a 28th floor and we were about ready to walk away from the deposit because we were going through a divorce and the market had softened and the value wasn't there and none of the numbers added up. He was like, listen, if we buy it and sell it, we're going to lose money in closing costs. He's like, that's not going to work. So what he had decided was we were going to take the loss and get 37% back on our taxes. I mean, this was like, can I use numbers here? $1 million deposit. Okay. And we were going to get 37% back on our taxes. And then we were going to have like less of a headache during the divorce. I went through a million different channels and I got in touch with the owners of the building and I threw a Hail Mary pass. And let me tell you something. The realtor that helped facilitate this told me I was nuts and that it was never going to happen. You can tell me a million things, but until I get that no, I am going to ask the question. I cannot impart that enough to enough people. Ask the question, take the no, and move your feet forward. Stop assuming. I called the sponsors of the building, the Wyckoffs, and I said, I am about ready to walk away from the deposit. Can we make a deal? And she was like, well, tell me what it is. And I said, I need you to transfer the deposit to the lowest floor in that building, in the smallest, and I can close the deal on my own. I don't need my future ex-husband. And she was like, we'll get back to you. And she got back to me and she said, we'd rather have you in the building. You have 14 days to close. And they transferred the entire deposit. So I bought my ex-husband out at 40 cents on the dollar. Okay. I bought him out so his half, let's say, was $500,000, right? I took that $500,000, I gave him 40% of that. So he was making a 3%. Okay. So I thought it was a good deal. I've never dropped more F-bombs in my life in dealing with the lawyers and the attorneys, but now I own an apartment in New York. I didn't finance the rest. I wrote a check for the rest, and now it's an income producing asset. The point of this story, Peter, and for everybody else that's listening, is even when everybody tells you crazy, do not neglect to ask the question. The answer is always no unless you ask. So ask. You never know. I got the deal. Now I own an apartment in New York.
It's amazing. That's how stuff gets done. I love today. So George, on our way here today, I took Barbara by 205 Edgemont Drive, which is our condo project in Lock Harbor.
Yep.
She nearly blew a gasket. I mean, she was the most excited I've ever seen anybody over real estate. We pulled up to the outside. She could see it was neglected and falling apart a little bit.
Yeah.
Her eyes got wide. Most people would say, oh, look at that piece of crap. It's neglected and falling apart. Barbara's face lit up like a pumpkin on Halloween. She's like, "Oh my God, look at this! We have to go in." I'm like, "No, we're not going to go in. I'm just going to."
He didn't have the key. I was like, "How do you not have the key?" I'm like, "Can we break in?"
I took her in. We walked through this property. It's falling apart. She loved every antique doorknob and piece of glass and sconce on the wall that had been painted over 50 times. She was taking video. So have you had other experiences, Barbara, where you see property
Yes.
and 99% of the world is running from it and you get attracted to it?
I cannot begin to tell you how much I love ugly houses. I love beautiful dirt. And what I saw in that was the view. I saw the dirt. I saw the windows. I saw the potential. And I think what buyers are buying faucets and sinks and flooring. And I think it's one of the biggest mistakes that early consumers buy. Like, buy the dirt, buy the location, and you can never go wrong because you can replace a floor, you can replace a faucet. I have honestly, nothing turns me on like an ugly home and a beautiful piece of dirt. Nothing speaks to me. And that's how I landed my property at the Jersey Shore. Nobody was looking at this house. It looked haunted because they took crappy pictures on the MLS and the house looked like I think there was a ghost in there. I think they literally photographed a ghost and cobwebs. These were terrible photos. And so I bought that house off the internet. I never went down to see it. All I saw was this beautiful piece of dirt. I was like, "Oh my God, and it was, nobody loved it." And that's when I came in hot. I came in hot. The property has, I don't know, it's already valued over $1 million more than what I purchased it for. But I think some people are getting caught up in all the wrong things. You are being sold lipstick and a filter. Like, stop. Take the filter off. Look at the dirt. Look at the location, the proximity, wherever it is. Yeah. So you drove by that house and we were just going to do a drive-by. I would have jumped out of a moving car to get inside. So we went inside. It's magical. It's magical. I love it. I loved the views, the potential. Buy the potential and buy the dirt. That's all I can say. That's my jam. And you taught me a few things today in looking at door jams and floors and structural things that I had never knew about buckling. Your floors were gorgeous.
We talked about this old building having flat floors that hadn't buckled and headers that hadn't settled and shifted.
Good bones.
The bones are hardy, and the view, it'll never be changed. It'll be unobstructed water views, sunrise, sunset. I mean, the second I saw it, I was honestly almost pulled the emergency brake. So we
spent almost an hour in this place.
Wow.
She has no more memory left on her phone because the SIM card is filled up with the whole hour of video.
Let me also say the other part that I don't think people... there were no lights to turn on. There's no running water, but we're going through this entire place. And not once did I say, "Can we turn on a light?" We did not have to turn on a flashlight. We did not use our phones. The natural light that was streaming into this home, you cannot recreate. So in real estate, if you start looking at things in its like longevity and what consumers are ultimately, you're not going to go wrong with the right dirt, the right views, the right sunset, the right proximity to town. I love ugly houses. I have a thing.
You've had an idea of your dream home in your mind ever since you were a little girl, from what I remember. What's that story? There was a drawing that you did of...
This is... Okay, so I think a lot of things are voodoo. I'm a black and white girl. My birth sign is Taurus. I have like linear thinking, like really bad. Like sometimes it's almost embarrassing. When I was younger and my parents went through difficult times, my dad told me to draw a house of my dreams. So I'm living in my uncle's apartment in La Jolla, California, and I'm drawing this house. And I drew 4 bedrooms. So I'm one of 4. I'm one of 2 sets of twins. And I drew Jack and Jill bathrooms. So we had 4 bedrooms, and then we each shared a bathroom. I had seen Jack and Jill bathrooms somewhere along the way. And I swore it was just like the most magical thing. Number one, we kind of quasi had our own bathroom and we could just still communicate. And I drew a brick house with a circular driveway. Fast forward, I ended up buying a house and I didn't realize it until recently. I'm like, I drew this house into existence. It is a 5-bedroom house upstairs. The top floor is 5 bedrooms and all 4 of the kids' rooms are joined by a Jack and Jill bathroom. I have a circular driveway, which I put in, and it is a brick house. I drew this into existence. So I don't know, law of attraction, manifestation. I do believe in the power of the pen. I do believe in writing things down, drawing them out. And I do believe it has played a huge role for me. Not only in I drew my dream house, I also said I wanted to be on the Today Show.
You just woke up and said, I want to be on the Today Show.
Well, I actually read the book, The Secret, that year, 2006. And the movie had just come out. And they're like, write down what you want to do. And I was like, well, I would like to be on the Today Show. I'd like to be Jill Martin on the Today Show. That it wasn't until I went through my cancer and realized like I had left so much on the table that I said, if I get another shot, I'm leaving nothing on the table and I'm going to pursue TV. And there's a whole craziness in there because there's so many crazy, just serendipity. But long story short is I was supposed to do media training with another woman and I was so excited about it. I booked the hotel. I was going into New York for the weekend. I was like, this was going to be my chance to see if TV was something for me. And she canceled, gave me a refund. But I didn't stop. And sometimes a rejection is actually a redirection because my next call was to Amy Rosenblum, who was the former executive producer of the third hour of the Today Show. And she ended up signing me for her media company. And my very first booking was the Today Show.
But I mean, it's amazing because you went from zero to being booked on the Today Show. Like you went from not running marathons to running marathons. I hear this theme. It's repeating over and over with you.
I like choosing to do hard things. And I guess I lost my story thought on that one, but you're just so right. I think sometimes I feel like we've been taught like, oh, that's for lucky people, rich people, educated people, lucky people. I don't know. Instead of being like, anything is for the people that are willing to do the work to get there. If you're willing to do the work, you can run a marathon. You can do whatever you set your mind to, but I think we get bogged down with false narratives, limiting beliefs, things that have run on loop in our, on the cassette player. Like, I think our generation, Peter, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we were raised, and maybe not you, but more so me, save your money, pay off your house, get a good job, go to college. And we don't realize that that's been running on loop and it's expired. We're no longer listening to cassette tapes, right? We've moved on, yet we have this old cassette tape running in our head. Now I've learned through being with you and really, listening and getting curious about real estate and generational wealth. It's about taking on good debt. It's about buying income producing assets, less depreciating assets. It's a different kind of game. It's not about save your money, pay your house, go to college, get a good job. The narrative has shifted. So, but back to your question, yes, I like to choose to do hard things because I do know one thing, and my dad taught it to me, is it's in the do, it's in the action. Figure out how they did it and then just do the things to get the things. So I'm very like, okay, what's next? So I want to be on oceanfront property. I'm like, okay, how do I do that? And there's no like, oh, must be nice. It's like, yeah, it must be nice. How did they do it? And then I want to, am I willing? The question everybody needs to ask themselves, if you have an aspiration, is, are you willing to do the work? And if you're willing to do the work, you just have to find what the right work is. You have to get the right mentors. You got to get the right coaching. You've got to get the right people that are giving you the right advice. And sometimes the people that have our best interests don't know what is best. That is a quote from my friend Jessica. And it is so true. Get counsel, get advice, and get the action part from those who have done it before. Do not ask advice from somebody who's just guessing, pontificating, and just giving you advice with your best interest at heart. They don't know. And I think that's just what I've always figured out is like, okay, I got to find the people that know how to do that and then do what they did. Yeah,
we talk about not taking advice from those that haven't done it yet or from those who are less successful than you. You're really hitting the nail on the head when you say seek those out who have done it, because advice is like an opinion. Everyone's got some advice and opinions, and you really have to be selective on who you get that stuff from.
Isn't advice like elbows? Everybody's got one.
Elbows.
At least one.
Elbows.
You talk a lot, always, and today here as well, about your kids, your family. I know you now. I know that you're very much engaged with your family, and your children are the most important thing to you. I saw you posted recently about teaching kids and younger people about the financial system and about money. Have you had those experiences with your own kids? And if so, what types of things have resulted from that?
So I recently had a breakthrough with my son Max, and it's a good share because, we spend our summers at the shore and they can be a little lax about their bikes. And I get very frustrated. I'm always hunting down the bikes, and now I've decided, I'm like, I want to put tracking systems on the bike. I'm like, these bikes are expensive, but they're very like, oh, whatever, we'll just get another one because, whatever reason. I finally had a breakthrough. So we're sitting down. I'm like, Max, if you lose another bike, and I'm not calling out Max, I'm calling out all my children, all three, Gabe, Max, Milena, all three. I said, listen, it cost me $750 to go replace that bike that you like. How about if I take that same $750 and I buy a vending machine? And all of a sudden, the lights went on because I was like, does your bike produce any income? He said, no. I said, will a vending machine produce income? I'm like, it's the same $750, but the $750 that I put into a vending machine is actually going to give you money every single month. When I tell you the light bulbs, he's like, could I do that with an arcade? I'm like, you can do that with an arcade, a laundromat, just so many other places instead of a depreciating asset. So I kept talking real estate, but you could see them glaze over. But when I got to like the arcade and the vending machine, and then they understood it. And it's like, never give up on trying to teach your kids. I think the narrative has been for me was save your money. And now I'm like, invest your money in income producing assets, not depreciating assets. I cannot stress that to them enough, because if the wheels fall off or they want to go spend a month in Europe, I need them to have 87,000 vending machines so they can afford to do that, or something of the ilk of like, you can live the life that you want if you're willing to invest in money in the right places, and not save your money, but invest your money in income producing assets.
Nowhere in our world today do they teach us about these things. They don't teach us about it in school. They don't teach us about it at our jobs, at work, our friends. We're taught not to discuss money with our friends. It's impolite to talk about mortgages and salaries and investments with friends. It's like, you used the word crass earlier, and we're considered to be crass if we bring it up. So where are we supposed to get this information, and how are our kids supposed to get it? So I think it's great that you have this dialogue with your kids, and I love the story about the vending machine and how the light bulbs went off.
Because you don't know where it's going to hit, and you got to keep trying. And I talk to my boys. I have two boys and a girl, and I talk with their friends a lot too, because they're around. I drive them around. You've seen my house, so my house is definitely a fun house. It may have a little basketball court in it, so the kids like to play there. But I want to. Sometimes I talk about vending machines now and arcades, and just because I want these kids to do well, and there's no way they are being taught this in school, because this isn't in our academic curriculum, and they're not being taught in college. In college, you're being taught what the professors know. You teach what you know. The professors know how to study and regurgitate information. And I'm not knocking college, but I am knocking the narrative that is the single one modality to living your best life. That is a old false belief. And I want to start changing the conversation of get curious and follow your passion. My son Max said to me this week, he said, what if I do a gap year? I went crazy happy. Yes. Let's do it. Like, why not? Why not choose your own path? Listen, I just think where there's a will, there's a way. And again, you asked about marathons and building, generational wealth and, doing the things that I've done, being on TV. I want to teach my kids you can choose to do whatever you want as long as you're willing to do the work to get there.
One of the most important things is like, what are you optimizing for? And so like when you talk about college, it's like, yeah, maybe that's, getting you some, knowledge about whatever you're studying, whether it's, art history or, English or whatever, but you're not necessarily optimizing for commerce. You're not necessarily optimizing for making money. And it's so often sold that way, but it's a false sale, in most cases.
And it is right for all those that it's right for, but I think it's such a detriment. I see so many talented people out there, kids, young adults that are literally, their heads are down. I didn't go to college. And I honestly want to be like, no, there's magic in you. There's genius in you. What is it? I remember hearing from a set of parents of like, their son was really into motorcycles and didn't go to college. But instead of really, celebrating that he was proficient in motorcycles and understood the inner workings of a motorcycle, they just focused on he didn't go to college. And I'm like, why have we been we're holding a generation of entrepreneurs and artists and musicians back from really living out their best life. I just want to give opportunities to everybody to know that they're a genius and they're magical in their own right. And I just can't go to college, get a good job, and go work for everyone else. That's very rote and it's archaic. It is necessary. Some people, it's perfect. It's perfect for that person, but it's not for everybody. And it doesn't make those that don't choose that path wrong. So if my son wants to study abroad and spend a year or 5 years, living in the caves of Uganda, I'm like, as long as you're serving others and you're living your best life, then mama's got your back.
I mean, just a few weeks ago, we were discussing the trades and like electricians and plumbers and like those are things that, don't require a college degree. And people, I think, sometimes view that as like, oh, well, you didn't go to college, but they're doing great right now. And it's
that's where the money is. You've heard me say that. Money
is. So it's like,
imagine they were told that they were the geniuses. There's these great stories out there about this kid that was like bombing out of school and he took the SATs and he got like a 15-20 on it. All of a sudden, everybody's like, oh my God, he's a genius. And they started treating him differently. He started acting differently and he started, hanging and he carried himself differently. And then years later, the SAT board called him and was like, sorry, that was actually not your score. But he had already achieved so very much. Right. But it's an interesting story and I am kind of ruining it. I'll have to send it to you. But the essence of it is, why are we not finding everybody as gifted as they are? Because imagine we told all these tradesmen, everybody, we treated everybody as a genius, and they took that into higher levels as opposed to you're not just a anything. You're an integral part in the success and everybody's well-being. Where would I be if a toilet clogs in I have to replace the toilet? I don't even know. I'm not fixing a pipe.
Well, we're taught what to think, not how to think.
Yes. Oh my God. Repeat that, please. Save my soul. That was so good.
We're taught what to think, not how to think.
Absolutely.
And that is, I think that's where we're limiting free thinking. And I want to be part of the narrative of like, okay, you know what? Go to college, get a good job is a narrative, but it's not the only one.
Talk to me about this humanitarian award that you received.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's the gift that keeps on giving. And if you have not read The Go-Giver, the book by, I think, Bob Berg.
George knows. George knows every author.
We'll correct it in the show notes, yeah.
So The Go-Giver amplifies that story. So I went on a medical humanitarian mission with my friend Molly Dare in 2009. And it was to the Dominican Republic with Operation Smile, where you fix cleft lips and cleft palates for people in need. And it can change the trajectory of their life. And there's these 3 rooms when you go to the mission. And the first 2 rooms, the parents go in, they take their kid, and they find out about surgery and after surgery and what they can expect. And they come out and they're so excited because they're going to get the surgery for their kid born with a, facial deformity. And the 3rd room is the kid didn't qualify. And the families that walk out of this 3rd room, you can't, sobbing. And it could be the most benign thing. A kid could have a 99-degree temperature. They cannot do the surgery. They can take, this is 0-risk humanitarian mission work. You cannot afford to impact the integrity of a mission. So I left on that flight and I thought, oh my God, what happens to the kids in the 3rd room? And the woman said to me, if we don't sponsor a mission, we cannot go back. So I said, well, who sponsored our mission and how much was it? Colgate, $150,000. Now, I had never raised $5. I had given money. I had no problem writing checks to charities. I'm a charitable, philanthropic person. I'm like, I am going to raise $150,000. A girl who'd never raised $3. And so I go back, and I was a stay-at-home mom of 2 kids at the time, but I had scaled sales teams. I was still, somewhat involved, just kind of doing consulting on the sides. And I reached back around and I they had a big meeting, and I said, I need 5 minutes at this meeting. And they rolled their eyes. All right, come on in. I said, I would like everybody to pitch in. And I think that if each office, because now there were hundreds of sales offices across the United States, every office raised $1,000, we could, sponsor a mission. Like, let's do it. I thought it was so easy. I was like, all you guys have to do is go do a bowling fundraiser, and everybody raised $1,000, and we're like, Colgate, we put ourselves in the map. It took me 18 months, and it was a grind. I can't even express to you. Long story short, after 18 months of like, come on, you can raise $1,000, we finally hit our goal. We went on our first humanitarian mission that we sponsored. We actually went to Brazil. 5 team members went down. They came back. The rest is history. Everybody was sold as I was of like, this is incredible work. We need to amplify what they're doing. The thing started to take off. So it's like the first 18 months was grind and grit and sweat. And oh my God, what did I get myself into? I'm literally going to look like a fool because I can't do this, to, oh my God, this is taking off like wildfire. Fast forward 2015, I get a call and they're like, along with Johnson & Johnson as our corporate humanitarian of the year, we are honoring you, Barbara Majeski, as the individual humanitarian of the year. I could not believe this. I did not do this work for any other reason other than I thought, if this was Stephen, my brother Stephen, and they couldn't speak, I have to speak for the Stephens of the world. I have to give a voice to those who can't speak for themselves. The only thing I'm really, really good at is talking. If you haven't figured that out, I'm really, really good at,
It's not the only thing you're good at.
That's true. I couldn't believe it, but I want to really take this to the Go-Giver because this is so important. And yes, it was amazing. That humanitarian award, I had been a stay-at-home mom. I was featured on the red carpet. I was up on stage with Johnson & Johnson. I was with celebrities. I was featured on the news. I was all of a sudden I went from nowhere on the internet to all over the place. Fast forward. So I do this humanitarian work for, the greater good. Fast forward 6 months. 6 months later, that was May. In November, I'm diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. I get a call from Alex Gorski's assistant, Danielle, and she said, Alex just heard you were diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. You have the full weight of Johnson & Johnson behind you. Hello, Johnson & Johnson. Now anything you need, Johnson & Johnson is going to take care of you. Hello, thank you very much. That's number one. The universe, literally, you give. Relentlessly, the universe will give back to you exponentially. Not only did I have Johnson & Johnson in my back corner during my cancer treatments, that when I decided to go on TV, this is crazy. So I decided, and I call Amy Rosenblum, go back to the beginning. I call this woman, Amy Rosenblum, off of Instagram. I'm like, hi, I see you on Instagram and I feel like a fool, but I think you should train me because I want to be on the Today Show. She Googles me. Remember, I go from nowhere on the internet. As we're on the phone, her assistant, I should say, Googles me. Drew Googles me. And she goes, oh my God, check this woman out. She knows how to do public speaking. She spoke at Cipriani's, standing next to Alex Gorski, celebrities, Eli Manning. They put Amy Rosenblum on the phone. She goes, give me a minute. I want to see how you can talk. So I'm like, oh, okay. She gets back on the phone. She goes, can you meet me this week? I want to see if I want to meet you. I want to meet you. You look great. She comes in. This is crazy. I go in, meet her. She goes, the Today Show needs somebody in lifestyle and entertainment, and we think you're going to be the person. When I tell you, the universe moves me to the front of the line because I did this humanitarian work. I have 12 more stories on that of like, read the book, The Go-Giver, live at the highest expression of yourself and live in service of others. And the universe will gift you back in ways you can never imagine. So I just had to share that. So thanks for asking.
That's amazing.
Barbara, I need to hear you do the impression of your mother and then do the impression of Amy Rosenblum.
No, they're the same. They're the same because they're New York and my mother. Lolly is different than Amy, but they are both heavy New York. Listen, you put Amy Rosenblum on this podcast, you'll be talking like Amy Rosenblum.
George, did you see recently that there was an article that came out about how millennials are triggered by the thumbs up emoji, and there's a movement to get the thumbs up emoji and 9 other emojis banned?
I did not
because
see
it's
this.
too triggering and aggressive?
Wow, no, I didn't. Why is it triggering?
Because it's too much of they'd rather have smiley faces with kisses or with the smiley face with the halo.
Right.
But the thumbs up apparently is too aggressive. It's too pointed. It's too quick to the point. I don't know. They find it triggering and aggressive.
Wow.
I'm going to have to send you the article.
Yeah.
When I saw this article, I knew for sure that we are doomed as a society.
I just think there's constant distraction from real topics at hand and people are bored because there's just no way this would make the short list if people were the short list of something to put your energy towards. If you have energy to put towards this, which is clearly a waste of time, you need to be serving others. I met Oprah Winfrey years ago and asked her, what's her best advice for success? And she says, living in service of others. And I think, all right, you've got time to do that. Then you know something. Why don't you look where you can serve? You're not serving anybody. You're actually you want attention. And it is an attention-seeking kind of time. But we see it for what it is. You want attention, go give. Go on a humanitarian mission. And that's why I went. I needed a reset. Oh, that's so annoying, the thumbs up.
It's the pussification of our country, I think.
Pussification.
I mean, with social media, I think that, it was so much of the energy is given to, here's a topic, what's your opinion on it? And then you define yourself around that. But it's not, like you said, it's not serving anyone necessarily. It's serving your ego.
What did you see this week, George? Anything?
I
usually have a few zingers for me.
Yeah, it's true. I was preparing for this, so I've been actually listening to Barbara's podcast more than I've been following the news.
Thank you. Mine's better than the news.
You know what, George? I would like for you to ask Barbara her Zest Quest.
Oh, yeah.
Because we haven't done Zest Quest, you and I, for a while.
We haven't done Zest Quest
but
in a while.
I think I want to see Barbara go through that with
so
you.
Barbara, we haven't done it for a while, but back in the day, we would always do these Zest Quests at the end of the podcast, which are kind of less business related. And so, one of these that I love is, what is a quote or quotes that you live by?
One of them is, tough times don't last, but tough people do. This too shall pass is always a good one. Yeah. I'm going to go back to what I said earlier, is that the answer is always no if you don't ask the question.
That's the biggest takeaway from, I think, what we've talked about today is when you said, take the no. That there's something actually valuable about
no just means next.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that. That's great. Yeah.
And that's and we want our kids to have these soft cushions. At the end of the day, door to door, cold call, straight commission sales taught me how to think on my feet, stand tall in the face of adversity, and keep the feet moving forward even when I didn't want to. It taught me that motivation and inspiration isn't the rocket fuel that you need. It's always in the action. It's always in the effort, not in your feelings, because your goals don't care how you feel. So I had to, ringing the bell at the end of the day meant you made $100. I had to make $100 a day to put food on the table. So my goals and my needs, my stomach didn't care that I was not in the mood. I needed to put food on the table and pay the rent. So your goals don't care how you feel. So just do the things that you need to do.
That was something I was curious about, is starting out, you said many times that Stephen gave you the gift of purpose, and that was really the fuel, and that was your why. As you've matured and gained more and more success over time, what is your why now? Has that evolved?
Yes.
So what does
I think
that look like?
It's broad, and I think that's such a good question. And sometimes I feel like I'm on Clubhouse. So I have to talk before you're finished talking. So I apologize.
It's okay.
I deal with Brian Benstock every day.
That's great.
I'm sorry about that. No one should have to deal with Brian Benstock every day.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. I've been George.
But it is actually when I was, really confronted with my own mortality during my treatments, I really made a vow. I was like, I will use my voice to speak for those who can't speak for themselves. And it will no longer just be for Stephen and advocating for him, but to continue to elevate my profile so I can do the work that I believe I was given a second shot to do. So a lot of times I do get discouraged. I do think to myself, why am I doing this? I don't need to do this. But the truth is I don't have to work, but I have work to do. And it is in a line with, I think, advocating and using my voice to speak for the most vulnerable members of society is 100% what keeps me pulling up a seat at the table, keeps me showing up to different things, even when I'm not in the mood. And listen, I get discouraged. I get humiliated sometimes. All the things. But I do feel that alignment with I said that I would use my voice and amplify my profile so that I could use it for the greater good keeps me moving even when I don't want to. And trust me, there's a lot of those days.
Yeah.
What did I do? What am I doing this for? How did this happen? How did I get here? And I think a lot of us we are all gifted with great purpose. Just sometimes we can't see it. We're too lost in the sauce. And I'm just gifted that it was given to me, I can see it. It's in black and white. And it's what I'm happy to do.
Yeah.
So you can't tear me down, although people do try to. Haters can't do it. I'm like, you can't do it.
George, you know who I have to introduce Barbara to? Lindsay Ornstein.
Oh, yeah, that would be amazing.
The two of them would hit it off famously, I think.
100%. Yeah, we could do a quad interview. And
I think they both enjoy each other's company a lot.
Absolutely. That would be amazing.
You remind me of each other.
She must be gorgeous.
Yeah.
She's gorgeous. And she's she's a force.
Yeah, so this is one that I'm always obsessed with. And it's where Peter and I think, differentiate a little bit, is Peter's all about get up, fuck the routine. Like, I'm just going to get to work and, pile through and really always focused on just getting the shit done. And I like a little bit of morning routine. I like a little bit of meditation, all those things. Where do you fall on that spectrum? And what does your morning look like? Do you have a routine, or are you kind of like a let's
She's
get
got
to
young
it
kids,
kind
I
of
bet
thing?
you're just going to say that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm curious about that.
I think you have to find what works for you. I think there's a book called The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. And I think that sometimes we set ourselves up for failure. You're like, that doesn't light my fire. So, and what's interesting is that I am a morning person. I like to wake up before everyone. I want to have my coffee, and I want nobody asking me any questions. Do not come into the kitchen and ask me questions. I have no answers. I have nothing. And you are in my, I turn on my little fireplaces. So I think everybody has to find how to start their day that works for them, and what works for you isn't going to necessarily work for me. I do like working out first thing. I worked out early this morning, but I am running a challenge right now. And the challenge is, I do a lot of workout challenges because I'm not a fitness person. I'm a mindset coach. When you have your body right and you move every single day, you can get your mind right. And it doesn't work in it doesn't work the other way.
Yeah.
Just start getting that movement, get that oxygen flowing, just work out every single day, break a sweat. I remember actually Matthew McConaughey said that, it gets a sweat on every day.
All right.
And so I'm in it right now, and any challenge I run is you're working out every single day. Nice. And you have to post every day. And I'm not somebody that automates things. I do things live. Where I'm like, no, you're actually going to answer to somebody. This isn't automated. You're not going to check a, box on an app. You're literally answering to me, and I'm answering to you. So this morning I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I'm a woman of my word. I'm a woman of action, and I do the things that I say I'm going to do. So
I love this. So I work out every day. What was your workout today?
I have 2 Pelotons.
Oh, well, yeah.
I have the treadmill and I have the bike. So I was on the treadmill and the music sucked, so I went to the bike.
Fantastic. I love it.
George can plank for 10 minutes.
Not anymore, but in 2020, yes.
Pretty impressive.
I was doing a
but
plank
don't we
for
all
10 minutes.
agree,
Yeah.
when the body's right, man, the mind,
yeah.
when you're getting that oxygen and you're boosting you move more you're more fluid through the universe. You get in and out of your car, you run up and down the stairs. And I'm seeing a lot of people my age, they go in one of two directions, and they are either struggling to get up the stairs or they're running up the stairs.
Yeah.
And I always want to be that. I left something upstairs, I'm going to run up the stairs kind of girl.
Yeah. Well, it's state first. You have to set you have to be in a good state to do good work. And if you're not in that good state, then you can maybe get to the work part, but it's a lot harder.
Yeah. Get your mind right. The rest will. People are too focused on the body, and I'm like, no. But I do love my programs because I try to teach people how to have a reset that isn't life's a cha-cha, right? You take 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah.
But too many people are taking those steps forward and then 3 steps back, and then they're always kind of swimming upstream and they can't get up. And I'm like, no. Setbacks are part of the journey from New Jersey to California. You're going to run out of gas. You're going to run out of steam. You're going to get pulled over. This is how you travel. And you got to be able to cha-cha. You can't, the cha-cha isn't 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. So that's what I try to teach people of we're going to have a map, and we're going to understand that at some point we're going to blow out a tire, but that doesn't mean we throw away the car and we throw away, the map of where we're going. Yeah. We got to get back on the, change the tire.
Yeah. No such thing as failure, just results. Yeah.
There's only, you know what it is? There's no such thing as failure except if you fail to learn. It's either a win or a learn. You got to learn. What did you learn? Okay, I suck at changing a tire. All right, great.
So, Barbara, where can people tap into you? What events do you have coming up? What programs do you have that people can sign up for?
Yes.
Or just generally be in your orbit? Because I live near you, so I'm lucky enough to be able to be in your orbit, but how does everybody else get to do that?
So, you can go to BarbaraMajeski.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Barbara Majeski. You can follow me on TikTok at Barbara Majeski, but the best place is actually my website right now. I am launching a holiday challenge. It's starting November 1st, and it is a workout out challenge again, where you have the one micro non-negotiable one. There's just some of my challenges have 3. This one has 1 because it's going to run November 1st until December 24th to get you through the Christmas holidays, so you don't get as stressed out, as gluttonous. You like all the I'm going to get you through the most stressful season and happy season, so that you show up for 2023 your very, very best self. It's launching November 1st, and there you either sign up by November 1st or you miss it. So I don't know. You got to be in it to win it.
Get on it, guys.
You snooze, you lose.
Yeah.
I do it live. That's why. I'm like, this isn't an automated thing. This is like we start day 1 and we end on the 24th.
I've been to Barbara's programs. I've listened to her present and speak. I've listened to her coach people. She's the best there is in the business. She motivates me. She's definitely going to motivate you. I don't know if she'll motivate you, George.
Are you up for the challenge though, George? I think you would really like it. There's something really gratifying when you set, like, it's like running a marathon.
Yeah.
You're like, I think I can do it every single day, but then you make it like you set it and you don't forget it, because it's like you set it and then you follow through every day. You post and people are counting on you. It's actually, I'm really proud of the transformations I've helped people make. That's why I keep doing them.
Yeah.
So I have to admit something.
Tell me.
You said before that if you're willing to do the work, you can accomplish the goals. So I was doing these little micro running and bike and swim races, these mini tries. And the running part was like a mile or 2. It wasn't that much. And I'm like, oh, I just did 3 or 4 of these. I'm ready for a marathon. I started training for a marathon. I didn't want to do the work. I dropped. I was not built for it. I couldn't. My body physically was. I'm very top heavy, and it was just.
And you know what? That's okay. Like that's what's the key is. You learned. You didn't fail. You just learned. You know what? This isn't. I don't have the body. This isn't my body type. I'm not a runner. You could also be a triathlete. You don't know that. They have these mini triathlons. I like the pursuit of something. I just think it's the pursuit. Listen, many times I've started to train for a marathon and I'm like, I'm not willing to do the work. And that's okay. But you also can say, I'm not willing to do the work right now. I would rather hear that. I'm not willing to do the work right now. Because, you're where you're at right now doesn't mean in 10 years, things might not evolve and change. And you're like, now I want to do the work. Now I want to, because honestly, Peter, the New York City Marathon is an experience that you carry. It is an experience. And the work is really hard. The work is harder than the marathon. You have 26.2 miles of New Yorkers cheering you on, crossing bridges. Oh my God. And then you come down Fifth Avenue at the and then they shoot you right into the park and everybody is going crazy. You can't buy that high.
Yeah. It's a great day. Marathon Day's a great day.
So maybe you're not willing to do the work yet,
right?
Or you got to find your thing. I feel like that's it's lifting or yoga or whatever the other thing. It's like
I see. I'm doing the clubhouse thing. I talk before you finish. I'm sorry, because it's the only way. I just gave away the tip and trick for clubhouse speaking. You know what, Peter? I think biking might be your jam. I biked the.
I bike.
Have you biked the islands of Croatia yet?
I've ridden my motorcycle through Croatia. So you can put that in your pipe and smoke it. You want to know? Yeah, I do. I'm just going to go ahead and.
You could do a whole podcast on that.
But seriously, those biking trips with back roads, those organized, curated. I'm doing one for my 50th. I'm not doing it for my 50th because I've got too much going on this year. My 51st birthday, which is next year, I just celebrate my 50th. I'm going on a back roads trip. I'm taking my kids, my family. If the boyfriend still sticks it out with me, I'm bringing his family. I'm bringing the Siegels, and I'm bringing my best friend. It's going to be a privately curated European bike trip. And I thought I'd do Croatia.
I love that.
So, George?
I'm in.
Okay. Yeah. Neil?
Let's do it.
Neil's in.
We'll do it.
It is, those backroads trips are game changers. And I brought my daughter, Milena, and when she was younger, so we're going to bring Abigail.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing.
Barbara, you've done it all. You've traveled a lot. You've accomplished a lot. I feel completely uninteresting and boring in this interview with you. I feel like
mission accomplished, I guess. I don't know.
That's the work I need to go do is to go be more like you. But I appreciate you. You add a lot of value to my life. I appreciate my friendship with you. I thank you for coming here today. It's great for me to have you here because otherwise people would be stuck with me. And as we've just pointed out, that's boring. And I just think you're fantastic. And I hope that everybody gets a lot out of this talk we had
Well,
today.
thank you. And you are not boring. I find you incredibly interesting. And this was definitely the highlights of today. Definitely this interview, and that old ugly house has warmed my heart. I cannot wait to see the transformation. So you are anything but boring. And I'm grateful our paths have crossed. And it's funny that they crossed on Clubhouse, but you never know. You never know. So thanks, Peter. I appreciate it.
If you like what you just heard, you can subscribe to The Daily Cash Flow on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And we'd love it if you left us a comment or review. You can follow us on TikTok and Twitter at SiegelCap, and on Instagram at Siegel.cap. As always, if you're an accredited investor, go to SiegelCapital.com and take our survey to see if you qualify to take part in one of our apartment building deals. That's SIEGEL Capital.com.